Welcome, everybody, to episode 179 of WordPress Weekly for Wednesday, February 11th, 2015. I'm your host, Jeff Chandler, joined by West Coaster Marcus Couch. Marcus, here we go, another week, another bunch of WordPress things to talk about, and yet another awesome guest.
Totally. We've had a good string of shows lately, and this one is no exception. It's going to be awesome.
So before we get right into the meat of the matter, I do want to address something. We've had a couple of people who have emailed us. Last time, on the last episode, we had a request for reviews on iTunes, and a couple of people have reported that when they click on the show icon, they get an error that says the item is not in the iTunes store, and a couple of people have submitted reviews, and they're not showing up. I don't know if there's a withholding period that iTunes goes through before reviews are published, and B, I tried to check into that store issue, and I was able to access it just fine, so I'm not sure if it was just a glitch, a momentary glitch, or what happened, but if anybody out there encounters a similar error, please email us through the contact form at wbtavern.com, and I'll be sure to look into it, and again, feel free to give us a review. All the reviews, the more reviews, the merrier. So I just wanted to address that.
It helps out with the rankings, so it's really that. It's the quantity and the velocity as far as how frequently people are reviewing the show that help us kind of jolt up within the rankings. So the more people that see it within that first page on iTunes, the more people will listen, and that just grows the WordPress community even further. So we greatly appreciate that.
That's right. So Marcus, why don't you introduce our guest to our audience tonight?
Why, it would be my pleasure. James Laws is the co-founder of WP Ninjas, a company specializing in WordPress plugins. Examples include Ninja Forms and Ninja Demo. James has 15 years of public speaking experience and has interests in business development, product support, and leadership. Please welcome to the show, James Laws.
Thank you. Pretty excited to be here.
I miss playing our sound effect of the clapping. I miss it.
What happened? I set you up for it, too.
I know. Yeah, James, thanks a lot for being on the show tonight, and with 15 years of public speaking experience, I don't think you're nervous at all, are you?
No, not necessarily, except that I'm actually better in live circumstances, so, I mean, I guess technically we're live, but I'm usually in front of a crowd when I do it, and that actually puts me more at ease than behind a computer screen.
Well, does it help if I tell you that people all around the world listen to the show? Granted, not live, but...
No, it helps a lot. I'll keep that in mind.
So, what were you doing before you got involved with WordPress? Sort of tell us your WordPress, your journey to WordPress.
Well, my main journey to WordPress started back in 2005. I was basically working as a web designer for a fashion jewelry website. I was blogging. I was a pastor of a church at the time as well, so I was doing a little bit of blogging within the congregation and the community around me. And so I was looking for a platform to do that in, and I had played around with a few and stumbled upon WordPress. So I really started with WordPress as a blogger, even though I was doing web design work. All my sites were pretty well static at that point. And then I can kind of style it out myself, and it's kind of how I got into development, just kind of messing with my own themes.
So did you get any experience with Flash? Because we've had several people on the show who have somehow cut their teeth on Flash.
I built a few Flash sites. Yes, there was a company called Ground Floor Video in the area that they had basically bought a template, and they needed to jack it all up and add some really funky animations and all this stuff to it. So I ended up digging into Flash quite a bit.
Yeah, several people we've had on the show got into Flash and started selling things on Template Monster. Remember that?
Oh yeah, and that's actually, I think, where he had bought his original design from, and then gave it to me to hack up.
The theme forest before there was theme forest.
That's true. Yeah.
The funny thing about
mods are still going strong, aren't they?
Yes, they are still around, and they have a WordPress category, and they're still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the funny thing about Flash is anytime I had development work back then in like, you know, the early 2000s, everybody thought that you could do everything in Flash, like you were using Final Cut Pro or something. Yes, and I wanted you to zoom in on here and move it over to this, and then we're going to transition to this, and it was like, wow, this technology probably came out way too fast or way too early, one of the two.
And people would end up with these huge Flash movie files for their websites. I mean, like, just humongous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they were so awesome with the techno beats and the cool transitions and the graphics. Those are the best.
Yeah, the intro splash video, all that stuff is great.
10 minutes of loading, yeah, to get to one website.
That's right.
So, James, you had an opportunity to attend Pressnomics. I gave a highlight of my experience in last week's show, but I met you and developer Kevin Stover, who is also part of the WP Ninjas team. As a product developer and a WordPress business owner, what were some of the highlights of that event for you, and would you recommend it to other WordPress business owners?
Well, let me start by saying I'd absolutely recommend it if you haven't been yet, if you're wanting to get started in a WordPress business, or really not even just a WordPress business. I mean, there's so much takeaway just from a business perspective from it, but especially if you're in a WordPress business or wanting to start in a WordPress business, I would highly recommend going to it. The talks were great. I think I went to 4 of them. And the 4 that I went to were really, really good. But where the majority of the value came from me is really in between this few sessions that I went to, and then in the dinners with a bunch of different people that from all over the world that I would otherwise only get to have 140 character conversations with. And so being able to sit down around dinner and really talk shop opened my eyes to a lot of things that I was doing wrong or missing opportunities that I could have been capitalizing on. Just because I would tell them what we were doing and what our perspective and what we thought, and they'd be like, "You're missing some opportunities there that you should be jumping on." So it was really awesome. All the people there it was really, really, really cool.
So do you want to break any news to us about any strategic business partnerships that came out of that event, or did any? You don't want to talk about it, or was that?
Well,
it seems like quite a few people, depending on where I was, it seemed like there was a conversation happening over here and a conversation happening over there, and I'm waiting to see the announcements. As someone who is in the WordPress news space, to see what kind of business strategic partnerships come out of it, and realize those conversations happen at Pressnomics.
Sure, and I like to think that I have a pretty good head on my shoulders when it comes to business. But while I was there, I realized that I am a terrible business person.
Welcome to my everyday.
I mean, I realized I was a terrible business person because, like, we would be in the cocktail hour, and I would be listening to conversations, and everyone was wheeling and dealing and creating like these strategic partnerships. And I'm talking shop, but I was not. To be honest, I hadn't been thinking about that for our products. I was pretty happy that the fact that they're growing, our user base is growing, our customer base is growing, our reputation is increasing, and I was kind of just, I don't know, kind of resting on my laurels, just kind of really happy with that, and realizing that there's a lot of opportunity for those strategic partnerships and relationships that could be created. So I would say halfway into day one, I started changing my perspective and thinking, okay, I need to think bigger than I'm thinking right now. So I can't say that I have any announcements, but I definitely have a lot more opportunities that I don't think that I had prior to this, and so I will be definitely working those a little bit harder this year.
Awesome, great to hear. And I know some of the things I witnessed is that there were representatives from several web hosting companies which also happened to sponsor the event. And I noticed quite a few meetings taking place between some WordPress product developers or business owners and web hosting companies. And I'm wondering, with the huge reach that these web hosting companies have, boy, that would be a lucrative deal to do some distribution with a plugin through those web hosting companies.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. I mean, a lot of myself included, but a lot of people were working those kinds of deals with hosts, because distribution, for any kind of a plugin, distribution is key. So getting it on more sites in front of more people can help you, not just increase your user base, but then that user base becomes your customer base. So that is a big deal, and thinking about how that works, but how that benefits the host as well as how it benefits the product. Because it's one thing to say, hey, go to GoDaddy and say you should install our plugin on all of your hosts, on all of your sites. Well, that's all well and good, but why? Like, why should I do that versus any other plugin?
It's got to be a win-win situation for both parties, that's for sure.
Exactly. So there's a lot of that, trying to think about, okay, not just pitching this because it's going to benefit me, but also thinking, how do I benefit the other party?
So we have this main company, WP Ninjas, and we have two major products. Each is a WordPress plugin. We have Ninja Forums and we have Ninja Demo. So describe to the audience what Ninja Forums and what Ninja Demo is.
Sure. So Ninja Forms is a drag and drop form builder. It's completely free. It's really more of a framework. You can do quite a bit with it. It has a lot of features built into the free plugin, such as unlimited notifications, storing your submissions, pretty much building any length of form with any kind of field that you might need. And the business model around that is we have an add-on marketplace where we sell extensions. So as a company, we've built probably only maybe 9 or 10 of our own extensions. And then there's probably about 20 others that are built by other developers that they sell in our marketplace. And so that's kind of what Ninja Forms is. So it's just a kind of an extensible form builder. And the Ninja Demo is kind of a new product. Came out about the middle of last year. It's not sold great, but the reason is, one, we haven't been able to put the marketing effort into it. But the other reason is, and kind of tied to that marketing effort, is it's kind of a niche product. It really only, as it stands now, benefits people who are also selling products of their own, so plugins or themes or something like that. And most of these people already have their own kind of homegrown spaghetti code demo sites. They're not great. They may not be realizing that they're losing money because of their demos, but nonetheless, it's kind of a harder market to crack into. So it's doing well. It's got some high-profile people that are using it, and we really appreciate that. But basically what it does is it lets you create a sandbox demo instance of your WordPress website that they can kind of get in and kick the tires of your product, and it doesn't affect anyone else. There's no kind of cross-pollination. So the way most people are doing demos now is they have their own kind of WordPress website, and everybody kind of logs in with a demo user, and they're all messing with the same content at the same time. So you have people who are changing settings and wondering why the settings that they're changing aren't taking effect because 5 other people are probably changing that same setting.
I've had some fun doing that.
Yeah, and then the other problem is what we usually do is every 24 hours or every hour, depending on how much traffic you get, you have a function that runs on the cron and basically resets the database. So you may be at minute 59 doing something, and then all of a sudden the database resets, and you're like, wait a minute, I was trying to figure this out. Like, I was working with this, and now everything I've done is gone. And that doesn't just make the demo seem poor. It makes your product look poor because it makes it look buggy. Like, they don't blame the demo for that. They blame your product for that. And so we needed a solution for ourselves. And so this lets us actually roll out individual sandboxes, as many as we want, and users never touch another person's instance. So it affords us a lot. And our current demo.ninjaforms.com, is running Ninja Demo.
It's interesting you say that Ninja Demo hasn't sold that well, because I remember you sort of introduced the product to me. You gave me the spiel on it, and I said, well, this sounds great. This is an awesome solution to a problem that, that I think a lot of people have, and there's so many people with selling products, WordPress plugins in the ecosystem. But you're right, they all have these spaghetti code, cowboy coded type systems where things get reset all the time, and I wonder if it's just a matter of they don't know about Ninja Demo yet, or they don't know what it could offer them. I mean, as you said, you haven't done much in the way of marketing. Are you is that one of your plans for 2015 is to really ramp up the marketing for Ninja Demo?
Yeah, we're expanding. A lot of the problem is Ninja Forms is growing so fast that it's really taking up most of our time. And up until just recently, my partner Kevin was our only developer. So he was doing all of Ninja Forms, all of our internal extensions, auditing all of our third-party extensions, as well as building Ninja Demo and having to keep that up. So, and he has to handle all of our high-end support. So anything where he has to actually get into the code and debug and test things out, or into a customer site. So
does he sleep at all?
yeah, not much. And so that's really kind of been our weakness. So we just recently hired a developer. We hired another part-time support person, and we plan on hiring another developer in the next few months. And that's going to hopefully open it up so that we can focus a little bit more on Ninja Demo. We actually had to talk about the product today, some things that we're working on to make it a lot better, and we're really excited about it. So it is still in development. We're still working on it. But it actually stands from a business perspective. It makes it's an interesting kind of case study. So Ninja Demo, you guys covered it on the Tavern, and kind of did a write up about it and talked about it. And Brian Krosgaard at Post Status, he wrote us about us twice. And so here we have these two sites that have lots of traffic, well respected, wrote about this product. And the product still didn't do very well yet. It's early still too. It's a young product and it has some time to mature. But then you take Ninja Forms, which no one has written about. You have a few off-sites, but you guys haven't written about it, and I don't expect you to. But you guys haven't written about it. Post Status, those high-profile blogs aren't writing about Ninja Forms, and yet Ninja Forms is killing it. Like we are growing very, very rapidly. And it's kind of funny to see that kind of juxtaposition. One got some good press and a lot of people talking about it. The other didn't, and yet the one that got no press is the one that's still trugging along.
Well, I'll tell you how I heard about Ninja Forms was through Chris Lemma at his presentation at the North San Diego WordPress meetup group. He kind of did a nice grid comparison of Gravity Forms and a couple of other things side by side, and that matrix that he produced was really helpful as far as determining the different features, and that's what really kind of won me over to try Ninja Forms. But I want to go back to the demo thing for a minute. Earlier we discussed Pressnomics and some of the dynamics of people, even talking to hosts and things. Do you think that the demo platform would be good for somebody like Theme Forest or anybody like that, so that you could really demo the theme before you buy it, which is the thing that lacks the most in that marketplace?
Yeah, they have this kind of, it's almost a glorified screenshot demo, right? Like you can go in and kind of look at themes and stuff, but you can't really get in the admin and kick the tires and do things. Yeah, I think there could be a market there, especially with the marketplaces more than even the hosting companies. But there have been some talks of different things that could be done with hosts as well, almost using Ninja Demo as a staging site solution for some hosts. And so you want to be able to roll out a staging site sandbox, do some testing, do some updates, make sure everything is going to work. So how you could use Ninja Demo in that kind of environment. So there's definitely some room for that. The marketplace is the big one. We've been talking about that, and I think it has some performance stuff we want to fix. Which is what we talked about today. That'll make that really ideal. But I think you're right. I think the marketplace could be a great solution for those places like Mojo and an iTheme or not iTheme, sorry, Theme Forest. To have a demo solution that they don't currently have.
So bringing it back, talking about Gravity Forms. Gravity Forms launched, I believe, in 2009, and when it comes to forms on WordPress, Gravity Forms is like a household name. So take us through your thought process on introducing a new forms plugin to the market, because I know I talked to you, and so many people told you, why even bother? Gravity Forms has everything locked up, yet Ninja Forms is killing it right now.
Yeah, so when we first built Ninja Forms, I had been working in WordPress, but I wasn't really a part of the WordPress community, so I didn't know a lot of what was out there. And I didn't really know where to find certain information. So when we had a client who needed really customizable forms for different kinds of event registration, and we wanted to give them the ability to kind of build those forms on the fly as their events came up. So we built this kind of really ugly solution. And it kind of sat on their site for a while. And that's kind of where Ninja Forms that was, I guess you would call it the alpha. Like, it was working on their site, but it was really just for their use case. And then after a while, we were, I've always been building different businesses and developing different ideas. And we kind of had this idea, like, maybe we could polish it up a little bit and sell it. And so we got the idea, because at that time it was right around that time where the current menu system for WordPress is in place. And we said, I wonder if we could use that menu UI to kind of create the form admin UI. And so we kind of lifted that almost entirely to kind of create our base for our UI. And so in June of 2011, we launched Ninja Forms as a completely paid product. There was no free version. And we really, to be completely honest, at that point, I didn't know Gravity Forms until we had launched. And when we had launched, I started then thinking, all right, who's our competition? And so that's when I started searching and digging a little deeper, and I found Gravity Forms, and Formidable was right around that same time. And so there were definitely a few other plugins out there. There was actually quite a few plugins out there already, and
it's not just plugins either. Some of the biggest competition in the forums market comes from services, actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have like Wufoo and stuff like that, where you can kind of build the form on their site, and they just give you a code snippet, and you place it on your site. Yeah, absolutely. So there was a lot of that stuff going around at that point. And to be honest, at that point...
You really went through the entire development cycle and didn't do competitive analysis at all?
No, I didn't do anything. See, I told you, I'm a terrible business person. So when I'm in that situation, and when... Yeah, I know, it's crazy. And so when I'm in that situation now I take every new product and I think very differently about it. But then I really just wasn't thinking like that. And so we launched this product and saw the competition, and we made all the bad mistakes. So one of the mistakes we made was we offered a one-time price. There was no renewal. There was no ongoing price. It was buy it once. The other mistake was we tried to compete on price. So we lowered our price. I think the first thing we originally sold Ninja Forms for $15, like dirt cheap. And in 2011, that whole 6-month period, we made about $3,000 selling Ninja Forms.
You did everything to put yourself out of business.
Yeah.
Before you even got started.
The fact that we're still here is amazing. It's definitely a story of perseverance over stupidity. So,
see, now that's pretty remarkable, because before hearing that, I would have assumed that you would have just been a Gravity Forms user and went, this thing doesn't do what I need it to do from a design perspective, so I'm gonna improve X, Y, and Z. So
right.
That's very interesting that you weren't even aware of that.
Yeah, totally oblivious to it. And in June, around that time, June through December, we actually got picked up on. Somebody wrote an article on us, especially when we launched our light version. So we decided we needed more traffic. We weren't getting a lot of exposure. Nobody was really interested. Competing on price is a stupid way to compete with any other products. And so we didn't really know that, but we said, you know what, we're going to create a light version, real basic version, so we can put it in the repo, and that way we'll at least get some traffic that way. Long story short, in the entire year of 2012, we maybe made $12,000. So it did not pan out like super well for us. But when we were doing that back in the middle to end of 2011, we got picked up on WP Candy at the time when it was going strong, and tons of articles, and they wrote about us. And in the comments, and you can still read some of it today, they're like, why would you even bother? Like, there is Gravity Forms, and now looking back at the moment, I don't know if I had really thought through Gravity Forms. I don't know that I would have built Ninja Forms. Like, if I look back at it, it almost
That's what I was just thinking as you tell us a story. I almost think that if you did competitive analysis, looked at your other competitors and you came across Gravity Forms and you used it and maybe you said, "Wow, this is a really nice solution," it might have derailed the whole idea of creating a separate form solution to begin with, and maybe it would have deflated any motivation you had to create something of your own.
absolutely. And so when everyone was telling us not, you should just quit, like, don't even bother. There's no point in doing this. I think that kind of, I think, incited the fire in me. Like, okay, now you're telling me I can't do it, and there's no reason to do it, and I have to prove you wrong. Now I have to find out what sets us apart and makes us different. And so really, the entire year of 2012, we were actually rebuilding Ninja Forms while we were selling it, like completely rewriting the code base. The UI was relatively the same, but the underneath component was completely different. And so in the middle of December, I was looking for a new shopping cart solution, because at the time I had just built my own little PayPal connection, and it was garbage. And Easy Digital Downloads was starting to was just coming into the scene, and I'd seen Pippin talking about it. So I started looking at Easy Digital Downloads to be the solution. And as I'm looking through all these add-ons to figure out what I needed, it's like a light bulb went off, and I went, this could work for forms. Like, not everybody needs every feature that's in most of these forms plugins. Maybe they only need one. And I started to kind of break that down and talk about it. I went to Kevin about it. He was already making Ninja Forms so modular that it took him little to no time to just start pulling those features out into their own individual plugins to extend on top of Ninja Forms. And so that became the direction that we decided to go. And in January of 2013, we launched under the add-on model, and we have had 8 consecutive quarters of increased revenue every single quarter. This quarter stands to be just the same, huge sales increases. It's just exploding. So it's just kind of crazy how it all kind of happened.
I got something for you. Go to him next time and go, listen, I got an idea for a plugin. We put the lyrics of Hello Dolly out. Nobody's doing that right now. And then you find the competition, and then, oh, man.
Yeah,
compete.
It's true. Well, you can't compete with that one. There's no beating that.
So you look at something like EDD, Easy Digital Downloads, which has a marketplace. And now you look at WP Ninjas, and you also have a marketplace around this form framework, which is WP Ninja Forms. And I spoke to you about this at Pressnomics. I think it's a great idea because you've made a couple of those. It's like explain to the audience this marketplace opportunity and the pros and cons of it. Because to me, being able to make money in your sleep and make money off of things that you didn't even develop, that seems like a great idea.
Well, and so to lead into that, here's the thing that I found out in my not doing market research and not really understanding my competitors and being challenged to build something that could survive. What I determined was Ninja Forms didn't solve the problem of building forms. At least not any better or worse than any other form plugin. All form plugins solve the same problem. They let you add fields to a form, put it on your website, and accept submissions. We're all doing the exact same thing. So Ninja Forms, I had to figure out what made Ninja Forms different. What set us apart in an extremely saturated market? And what I determined I wanted to be the focus of what we were building was not just a forms plugin, but a community forms plugin. Something that the community could contribute to and take ownership of. So if you have an agency and you're building custom things, there's this plugin that not only do you think is, hopefully you think is great, but you can make better. You can contribute. The code is on GitHub. It's completely open. And that's not a bash against anything like Gravity Forms or any other Forms plugin. Those are great plugins, but they are closed in their development because it's their project, it's their product, and so they don't have as much, I don't want to say desire, but as much need for the community to kind of surround it in that way. And so we wanted to build something where, I really wanted to build the WordPress community's form plugin. And so that's kind of what started the process was, get the code on GitHub, make it very much something that anybody could embrace and use. If you don't like the way we handle something like conditional logic or multi-part forms, you could actually build your own solution. We did. You could build your own for your clients' websites or whatever you're doing, because Ninja Forms is completely extensible in that way. So that's kind of what started the process. And we started with our own extensions in May of 2013. I think it was actually in April. I sent out a tweet with a blog post that I had written saying, hey, if there's any developers out there who'd like to build extensions for Ninja Forms, let us know. And almost immediately, Pippin jumped on it. And he reached out and said, yeah, I'd be interested in it. He had an hour conversation with Kevin on Skype. They looked over the code and talked through the process. And he got off, and 20 minutes later, he had finished his MailChimp add-on.
That's Pippin Williamson for you.
Exactly. Now, first you have to make point that Pippin is a phenomenal developer. He's extremely fast and just super, super talented. But one of the things that he said was that he just loved how easy it was to extend Ninja Forms. So we were on to something. Like, something was really great there. He went on to build Constant Contact and Campaign Monitor as well for newsletter integrations. So he kind of got it started. He wrote a review about us and kind of raised our profile quite a bit in mid-2013 time. And actually helped us launched our marketplace for third-party developers. He was the first third-party developer to sell in our marketplace. He actually guided us through how he does it with EDD, how he onboards third-party developers through Trello. I think he actually helped us create our Trello board. So here's what you need to do. Here's your lists. Set it all up, and then we've tweaked it over time. But it's essentially the same way that Easy Digital Downloads does it. Our two businesses are pretty much identical in the way that they operate.
Isn't it sort of fascinating how the right review from the right person at the right time can carry a lot of influence and jumpstart a WordPress business?
Oh, it's amazing to me. He kind of jokes and said you guys would have gotten big without him, without his help. But the truth is, I believe we owe so much to him being willing to give us a shot and respecting us enough to want to push that forward. And so it was really an exciting time for us, and we hope that we can pay that forward to other businesses and developers as well, because it was a huge boost for us. Not just a boost in business and reputation, but a boost in confidence to have somebody of Pippin's caliber look at our code, look at what we were trying to build, and go, yeah, this is good. Like, what you're doing, this is a good thing. And so that was really encouraging. But to your question, it's about the challenges and the benefits of a marketplace. So yes, there are the benefits where we sell extensions that we didn't build, and we get a portion of that money because we're kind of handling it in our marketplace. So that's awesome. The other reason that it's really good is we have all these developers adding these integrations that we might not build because we don't see that they have a major financial pull. Like, they're not going to make a lot of money, but there's still, you can't downplay the benefit of coming to your add-ons page and seeing all of these integrations, even if they're not high selling. Just having another integration,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It shows that, oh, this plugin is really extensible, and there's probably gonna be something to meet my need the next stage that I am in business for my website. So this is a good product to go with. It's going to have more stuff coming as we go. So that extension model and getting other third-party developers to build even those kind of offshoot, like small little add-ons, it's really important. It actually helps out the marketplace a lot because they're going to come back and buy those bigger ones as well.
What was the biggest surprise as far as the add-ons that you thought, well, maybe that's kind of a reach as far as trying to find an audience for that add-on, but perhaps it was maybe a little different take once it hit the marketplace?
Well, the one that's no surprise is the best-selling third-party extension is Mailchimp. Mailchimp is just killing it and doing so well, especially in the WordPress community. And so Pippin knew that going into it and was smart. And he's like, I know this is just going to sell just because it's Mailchimp, no matter what. And so he had a good thing going. The extension that surprised us a lot, we built because I wanted just to make it easier to style forms on websites. Ninja Forms generally looks good on any website. If your theme styles the form elements properly, Ninja Forms will just inherit it. It will just look good. But sometimes you want to tweak it a little bit. And so we built the Layout and Styles extension, which is really basic. Like, we want to do a major overhaul on it. But the whole point was you might want to put your fields into some columns. You may want to, maybe add a border to your element, or you may want to color your label, or whatever the case may be, your submit button. So we built Layout and Styles for that, and it is the #1 selling extension in our marketplace. It's huge. It makes easily twice as much as any other extension in the marketplace, and so that was the big surprise, that one's making a lot. And I think that's the pain point that a lot of people have with a lot of the other form plugins, is that they're kind of a pain to style, and so we scratched that itch for them, I guess.
Nice.
So let's. You experienced some slow growth there due to some bad business decisions, which we've already covered the first couple years of WP Ninja. But now you're going through a very rapid growing stage of the business, and let's talk about the support aspect of the business. Obviously, I think you were able to take care of, maybe $12,000 worth of business. I'm not sure, things were slow going, but now, in your year-end review post, you had mentioned that in 2014, WP Ninja has made $370,000 in revenue, which is, God, that's got to be a lot of customers. How are you handling this growth spurt, and how do you handle support?
Well, so support is, of course, for any product business, is the challenge. And I think we're feeling it just like any others. And the other reason we feel it really hard is because we support Ninja Forms, the free plugin, just like somebody paid for it. So we don't care if they installed it for free and they're using it on their website and need help. We don't charge for support for that, per se. Now, that may be a bad business decision to some people, but to us, it's about our reputation, but plus Ninja Forms is how we give back to the community. It's one of the ways we give back to the community. By having a free plugin that's actually extremely robust, I think we provide a value to the community that it's not just about making $1. We love it when we can make some money off of it, but that's not the sole purpose of Ninja Forms being free. It actually is a way for us to give to the community. So that's important. And so if we're not supporting it like it's a premium, paid product somewhere else, then I think we're doing a disservice to it. Plus, you probably have seen it as well as anyone else. The people who are unhappy shout the loudest. So it just makes sense to, when they have a problem, you help them as best as you can. And so we try to treat them all with respect, and we work through with every user. If you read our reviews for Ninja Forms, we have a ton of 5-star reviews, and almost all of them mention our support. Now, you will see some 1-star reviews where they also mention our support, but those are not typical. And I generally think there was definitely a communication breakdown, and they assumed we were saying something that we weren't saying. But that's going to happen in any product.
And do you handle support on the support session of the .org forums, or do you try and forward everybody to the like a forum or something on the WP Ninja website?
Yeah, we try to get them all on our site. So Ninja Forms we actually use a Ninja Form to handle our support requests, and we use Help Scout. So all of those messages get forwarded into Help Scout, where we handle all the tickets. We do jump into the WordPress.org forums for the product occasionally. Usually if it's something where we can just point to them some documentation, we'll do that. Otherwise, it's just to refer them to the contact form where we can give them better assistance. We have a sticky post in there as well that kind of explains that, but most people, for some reason, don't read that.
So where does the handoff occur when it comes to some of these third-party add-ins? Do you still fulfill the support for those items? I mean, you must, but I mean, is there a time where some of these actual developers lend a hand with that support as well?
Yeah, I mean, we've been really, I think, really lucky to work with great developers. So our third-party developers are awesome. And so we handle first touch, obviously, of all the support requests. And if it's something that we can handle because it's just somebody doesn't know how to use the product, and they just need their handheld to get it set up, we handle all of that. That's part of the value that we add, as well as it being in our marketplace. But when it gets to the point where we find there might actually be a bug, or there's some debugging or troubleshooting that has to happen to a conflict, we usually reach out to the developer of that particular add-on and have them help work with us to get that solved. And up till now, I mean, all of our developers are very hands-on and jump right in, and it's always really nice to see. I mean, some of them are I think sometimes faster than even our own support, and our support is super fast. So it's been really good.
Yeah, well, they have an interest in it as well because they get a revenue share of what it is that they're supporting, right? So they
Certainly,
want the
yeah.
word to continue.
Yeah, and I think that's another nice thing about having the marketplace, right? I mean, it's one thing to have a plugin that you sell add-ons for, and maybe you'll get the name out there and people will know who you are. But when you add on these third-party developers who are also engaged, or people who are contributing to the Ninja Forms core, they, like you said, they all have this vested interest for Ninja Forms to be successful. So they're going to blog about it, and they're going to share it, and they're going to promote their own add-ons. And when they promote their own add-ons, that promotes the product as a whole and all of the other add-ons in the marketplace. So that part of being a community plugin, as much as we can anyway, kind of helps cross-sell for each other developer. Every developer is helping each other in their sales and in their exposure. So it's really exciting to see.
So let's we talk about EDD and Ninja Forms, and I think it's important to note that with these marketplaces, it's not a good strategy for all plugins, obviously. But you take a look at EDD and Ninja Forms; they're frameworks. They are just what you need to get started, and yet everything else on top of it, the fluff, the features, the add-ons, is all could be part of the marketplace. So it's almost like you give them just what they need to begin with, but yet if you want anything else, here you go. Here's the marketplace. Instead of having a plugin which solves everybody's problems, and now you can't, you don't want to buy any add-ons to it because then it'll just be even bigger of a mess.
You're absolutely correct in the sense that not every plugin fits in the add-on model. Matter of fact, we didn't release Ninja Demo in the add-on model. I mean, we probably could have. We have ideas for add-ons, but not quite in the same way. And so not every product fits that marketplace or add-on model. But I will say, in order to be successful in the marketplace, what I've learned is that free plugin has to be pretty well awesome on its own. If you're you kind of hinted at it, a plugin that does just enough. But EDD and Ninja Forms and others that follow, even WooCommerce and others that follow that kind of model, they are pretty awesome all by themselves. You can do a great majority of what you need to do without adding anything to them. So if you want to really succeed in a kind of a freemium add-on model, that free plugin really has to do a lot. And that means that sometimes there are features that we add to Ninja Forms that we could have sold as an add-on, but we want Ninja Forms to be great on its own. And so we bury that, and we just decide, you know what, we're going to put it into the core and benefit all users with it. Our perfect example would be our newest notification system that we added in 2.8. That gives you the ability to set multiple emails that can go to pretty much anyone you want to, can populate all the field data from the form submission so you can send it to your users. If you wanted to register a golf team and you had 4 members of the golf team, each one of those could get a personalized email if you wanted to with the notification system. And then the admin could get a personalized email. It's a really robust system to get notifications for your forms. It could easily have been something that we could have charged for, but we decided to put it into the plugin as it is, free, because we wanted to make Ninja Forms great on its own.
And I know Marcus has worked with and used a ton of different plugins, and I'm sure, Marcus, in your experience, how many plugins have you come across that are like free editions of a pro version, and yet the free edition is either has so many upsells, or does it have enough to even make you think about buying the pro version? It's that bad off.
Yeah, there's a million of them in the repository that are the light version. That you try the light version, it does somewhat of what you think the pro version might do, and then you get the pro version, and it's like, yeah, now you got the pro version. Now you can just import and export your settings. So it's pathetic. So I like the full functionality of a full plugin that can have the different options, because I may not need those other options, not just from a resource, from a standpoint of inclusive within what I'm trying to do, but that's extra code bloat too that's hogging things up within my installation that I don't need either.
Yep.
So the model is great. The framework model is great.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Evangelize your framework with what?
Oh, nope, you're there. Sorry, you cut out there for a little bit.
Oh,
we missed that last part.
Well,
okay,
we at least got to hear you say it's great, so that's really that's the most important part.
It's great that you can have this framework and then have these third-party developers evangelize it to death based on their model as well. So that takes the pressure off of them as developers to come up with their own platforms. It takes their own marketplaces and such. They can kind of ride on your back, and it's just this symbiotic relationship that grows. And the more user base you get, the more popular this is going to be, from a model perspective. So I like this a lot better than the here's a hacked up half of a plugin light version, and you can upgrade to pro, rather than showing me what's really under the hood, what this thing can really do, and then if I want to add more to it, I can.
Yeah, and exactly what you said is, that kind of trumped up, pro version to a kind of a crappy light version. That's business. It's bad business, but it's everything is just business. But when you put out a really robust product like Pippin has and like WooThemes have, and I like to think that we have, you're trying to say I value the community, and this is not just business. It's business. Don't get me wrong. We're trying to make money here. But we're not just trying to make money. We want something that other people can make money off of, something that other people can build their business on, whether they buy something from us or not. And that's important. And I think that's I think that is the WordPress, the spirit of the WordPress community. And it's exciting to see that being around and just to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah, because if you were to tell me, yeah, WooCommerce is $500, I'd never buy it. But
right.
I guarantee you I've spent $800 worth of add-ons in the last year.
Exactly. But you wouldn't have if you didn't install WooCommerce and weren't wowed by the functionality that it came with. Nobody's going to buy an add-on from Ninja Forms or Easy Digital Downloads or WooCommerce or any of these places if they don't actually like the product when they install it. That's kind of our I guess stamp of trust, right? Here's the product. Don't buy from us if you don't like it. If you like it, then we have stuff for you. And if you don't, we're sad, and we will hopefully improve it, and someday you will like it more. But you have that choice. You don't have to just drop money and then be disappointed.
And secretly, I guess not so secret, since I'm about to ask you, but I mean, you kind of want somebody to be bought into your product for life, right? You want that.
Certainly.
That to where they're dependent on it, to where it's just a normal function that runs their business on the back end, whether that be generating leads or just a contact form or orders or whatever it is. And that's the same with WooCommerce. There are clients I put in WooCommerce years ago. I wouldn't dream of taking them out because
It's
the
too
migration path
painful.
would be crazy.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you want people, I want people to use Ninja Forms, the free plugin. If that's all they need, I want them to use it. But I also know from a business standpoint, they may be using it just for a basic contact form, but a year down the road when their business takes off and they need an order form, but they don't need like a whole e-commerce solution, they're going to come back and buy PayPal or Stripe.
Yeah.
They're gonna, if they want to do something a little tricksy, like what we do with our support form on our site, where they want to kind of show a path to getting answers, so they can ask you a question, and if you select a particular question, we can just give you the answer right there before you, never having to submit the form. Well, then they can buy conditional logic. And as their business grows, if they're already using Ninja Forms and they already love it, who are they going to go to? And so you're right. There is a bit of, we want people to buy in because we know that down the road they're going to need more, and we hope that we'll have it to meet that need.
And going back to business decisions, I know one thing I think you really improved on is A, you got rid of buy once and that's it, but B, you worked on renewals, and I know
Yes.
you mentioned that you had some renewals come up. I think it was in 2013 or 2014 of September, and you had some pretty low conversion rates on those, and you made a couple changes and was able to improve it from 8% to 25%.
Yeah.
What did you change?
It's funny. We changed something so simple. So originally, when we started our renewals that came up in September, so of this past year, we did like 7%. It was awful, and I was on a mastermind call with a bunch of other business owners, and we were talking about conversion rates, and we were all finding that all of our conversion rates were actually not far off. We were all around the same, but they were crappy. Like 7% is terrible. That's not retaining customers at all. And so we started playing around with it and talking about it, and this is all that we changed. The hat tip goes to Pippin, because he went and built it into EDD, into the software licensing. I believe it was in the software licensing add-on. But basically, when renewals came up, we were sending one email 30 days before the license would expire. Ooh. So 30 days before the license would expire, we'd send them an email. Now, I don't know about you, but if it's 30 days away, I probably archive that thing. I don't see it again, and then 6 months later, I'm like, why won't my add-ons update? You have a new version, and you don't get those renewals. So what we did was I just added like 4 new updates. So I send it at 30 days, I send it at 2 weeks, I send it at 48 hours, and I send it at 24 hours before expiration. And just doing that, and there's more tweaks that I want to make, but just doing that simple thing jumped us from 7 to 25%. Actually, 7 to 28%, because our renewal rate in January was 28%.
That's the basic rule of marketing for all of you out there that are into it, which is create a sense of urgency. Not 30 days from now. Your stuff's going to be shut off in 24 hours.
Yeah. For all those people who every other week there's a going out of business sale and the business is still there 3 years later.
Exactly. It really is. It from a marketing perspective, it's just keeping yourself in their face. They need to remember, they got to remember where they got this stuff from, and they need to remember that there are deadlines. And if you just send out one kind of innocuous 30-day warning, they're not going to do anything with it. But if you get it to them a little bit closer with a little bit more urgency, and they can feel that urgency a little bit, people are more likely to renew.
So I want to wrap this up here. I got one more question for you, and then we'll dive into the news here. And some of the news is actually related to, you could probably speak on some of the items we talk about. But I noticed that Ninja Forms and Ninja Demo and WP Ninjas are all, your products all have their own separate websites. What's the strategy behind that instead of keeping everything under the WP Ninjas domain?
Well, we originally, in 2013, when we launched Ninja Forms under the add-on model, we actually did it on WPNinjas.com. So it was originally there, and then in the somewhere around the middle of the year, we moved it back to its own domain. There's a couple reasons for it. The reason we moved Ninja Forms onto its own domain is because we were building a marketplace. And at the time, WP Ninjas was still doing freelance work or client work. And I felt like it was bad business to have third-party developers selling stuff on our website where we would also possibly be gaining clients that they might be going after as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that because again, I feel like that's being a bad member of the community, and we always want to elevate our community, not diminish it and not hurt it. So we decided Ninja Forms just needed to be on its own site where it was all about the form plugin and not about our overarching company, the WP Ninjas. So that was the main reason that we did that. And so if you go to ninjaforms.com/about, you get to see all of the people who have either built third-party extensions, who have contributed to Ninja Forms code base, and who have made themselves available to be consultants. And so when in our support forums, we get lots of people who say, "Hey, I'd like to do this really custom thing. Can you guys help me?" And our answer is almost always no. One, we're just too busy. We don't have the time. So we refer them all to that consultants page and let them reach out to them. We'd rather them get the business for that. And so we hand that all off. And that, again, that's just a part about being the community. The other reason, and then when Ninja Demo launched, we just did the same thing. And then the reason we started to do that is we kind of wanted to create a weird marriage of a branded house and a house of brands. We kind of wanted to do both. So if you notice, like WPNinjas.com, ninjaforms.com, ninjademo.com, they're actually all the exact same site. Like they're all the exact same theme. The only difference is colors and the logo. And really just the name and the logo. So they're all exactly the exact same theme. I just have an option that tells it which brand to show, and that's all it does. And that's on purpose because we're building a reputation with Ninja Forms. So when we launch Ninja Demo or we launch the other, 5 or 6 products that we have on the back burner that we want to build, when we launch those, we want people to come to the site and go, "I know these guys and I trust them. Like, we know who they are. I'm familiar with the site. It feels like home." So that's why we did that.
And as a side benefit, it's probably all easier to maintain because you just go to this one domain, this one website, and everything is tied to that one product. It's probably easier to maintain and take care of too.
Oh, it definitely is. And by doing the themes and the sites the way we do, it's actually really easy to launch a new product because the site's already built. I just have to create a few items in my SAS file for that particular brand, and it's ready to go. So I just have to launch the theme and add some content, and it's ready to go.
Nice.
So any last questions here before we get into the news, Marcus?
No, I think we've covered a lot. I mean, and for the people out there that are would-be developers or current developers, there's a couple lessons to be learned here, and a lot of marketing things that you could, mistakes that James made that you could probably, prevent for your own case. And that's valuable, and that's exactly why we like having guests like you on the show, James, is because these are the things that nobody told you, and now you have the chance to kind of share your wisdom and your startup process and your development process to where people won't be making the mistakes that you and some of the other developers out there have made. And so to me, that's invaluable. That's a perfect takeaway for the show.
I'd like to just add one bit of encouragement to that too. Is mistakes don't have to be fatal. You can recover from mistakes. You can learn from those things and still survive. So we came out really strong on the other end. And those mistakes were a part of our journey. And as much as they're kind of embarrassing and people might make fun of us for making those early on, I wear those as a badge of honor because they helped us kind of shape us and steer us in the direction that we ended up. And so mistakes are. I feel like if you're not failing, then you're not trying.
You're not learning.
So mistakes are good, and they don't have to be terminal. You can still be successful through the mistake.
You probably learn more through failure than you do through success.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably. Although, always got to aim for success, instead of failure. So our first news item. On purpose. Yes. So our first news item up for bids. Oh boy, I hope we don't get sued over this. I hope that's not copyrighted. But Drew James, who is leading the release cycle for WordPress 4.2, announced that there's a new community initiative called NUX, or New User Experience. Now the group is made up of about 15 members, or more than 15 members of the WordPress community, and a lot of them have experience in onboarding clients, training clients, and working with new users on a regular basis. So the group will be tasked with helping to identify common pain points new users might experience using WordPress, with the hope of it reinvigorating the conversation about making the new user experience a priority in core decision making. And I'm excited about this new initiative. It's something that's been missing in WordPress. Within the past few years, we've had conversations about this, but there's been several posts out there that's sort of been saying, hey, WordPress isn't as easy as we tell people. I bet most of the time you sit someone down in front of a WordPress screen and you say do this, and they'll probably end up clicking everywhere and not getting the task done. So I think there's so many areas of WordPress to improve, especially from the new user experience point of view. I'm really hoping that the fruits of this initiative end up reestablishing easy as a selling point for WordPress, because I think over time it's become probably not as easy as it once was. And regarding this initiative, James, I believe one of the goals for 2015 with at least Ninja Forms is you too are going to really concentrate on the user experience, right?
Yeah, I actually love this initiative because a lot of times you hear a lot of complaining from developers saying, how janky WordPress can be, and most people know that there are certain things that are in WordPress that aren't maybe the best way that they should be. But WordPress isn't about developers. WordPress is about users, and developers bend over backwards to work within the system so that users benefit. In the end, it doesn't matter that developers have to jump through hoops as long as users don't have to. And so creating a better user experience in WordPress is a win for everybody. I know it's definitely something that we're trying to improve with Ninja Forms, because we will be the first to admit that there are problems in Ninja Forms in the way that we do certain things. And so, but we're dealing with legacy code much like WordPress, and as we go, we improve. So we have lots of big changes coming in 2015 to majorly improve the user experience.
And as those improvements get into the core of WordPress, since your plugin is built on WordPress, you automatically receive the benefits of happy users who know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So now with your product, you just got to keep pace and be just as easy as the core platform you've built on top of.
I agree completely.
So anyone out there, if you use WordPress.com, guess what? There's finally a conference dedicated to you. The first one is on March 28th in Portland, Oregon, and the event is called Press Publish. It's a new series of events focused on WordPress.com and Jetpack, and there's 2 tracks. Each event lasts for 1 day, and speakers will share their personal success stories on using the WordPress.com platform, and there will also be a handful of automaticians there in case you want to smile and say thank you for creating an awesome platform, or complain about some things that are broken on WordPress.com. There's a couple things I'd really like to say to a couple automaticians, but I'll leave that for another day, another show.
This reminds me of summer camp at Boy Scouts. There were some scouts that slept in tents, and some people slept in cabins. So you can tell who's who.
So there's actually a second event as well. It's going to be April 18th, 2015 in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, tickets for both events cost $250, and I just learned today there's a new post that was published that if you purchase a ticket and attend the Press Publish event, either one of them, you'll get a voucher for 1 free year of every, I don't want to say every, but just about every premium upgrade that WordPress.com has to offer. So that's pretty neat. And they also have a bundle where you can trade in your certificate for self-hosted users. If you happen to go to this event and you have a self-hosted website, you could get like a VaultPress type of bundle as well. So a lot of cool things there. Sort of interesting.
They're speakers, right? There has to be.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're speakers.
Who? Yes. Anybody prominent?
Just quite a few people who, like established authors. I'll take a look here right now. Let's see. Oh, just a lot of people who are behind some very successful websites on WordPress.com, and some of them have turned them into well-selling books or TV shows or all this other stuff. So just a lot of people saying, hey, WordPress.com is an excellent opportunity to publish your work, and you can make a living at it. And it's a conference devoted to really using the tools and features that WordPress.com and Jetpack makes available to people. So
Great.
overall, I mean, we have WordCamps. This is the first time that there's been a conference solely devoted to WordPress.com. So it's pretty cool, and I imagine they're pilot events. So if they happen to do well, I imagine we'll see more of them happen across the country, which is pretty neat.
Yeah,
So,
that's a great piece of news.
So our last story, news story for the week, is that WP Rocket has grown from $0, just starting, to $35,000 in monthly revenue. So WP Media, the company behind the cash and plug-in WP Rocket, has wrote that this is all within a year and a half, and they've grown to 15,000 websites, 4,300 plus customers, and 35 grand in monthly revenue. And one of the things they had mentioned that they publish these stats because there's several other companies that have been open and transparent about their journeys in the WordPress business space. And sort of going back to James, you published your year-end review, but I think you and several others have also published year-end review posts because of other people sort of being open about it and saying, hey, look, yeah, we're doing great, but here's also some pitfalls I've experienced.
Yeah. I think the first time I saw it was when Pippin had done it, and he did it for EDD and for Pippin's plugins, all of those other sites that he had at the time, all those other products. And I saw his stats, and it was really encouraging to me. Like it said, okay, here's somebody who's working hard. And at that time, he's trucking away. The guy has, I don't know, hundreds of plugins that he's built, and I was like, hey, we can do this. Like this is something that can be done. So I found it very encouraging. And I found it interesting when he would talk about some of the things that he was doing to get those numbers. And so when we came to the end of our year of actual starting to grow, I wanted to do the same thing. So there's twofold purpose to that. So one is as I like to help other businesses as much as I can, because other businesses have helped us. They've encouraged us. They've taught us. They've directed us a little bit, and I appreciate that kind of mentorship. And so I want to be able to be that for other businesses as well. I feel like you should always kind of pay it forward as much as you can. And so when we got to the end of the year for us, we started doing these same year-end reviews and sharing our numbers and talking about what we did and how we got there and things that we failed at, things that we succeeded at. I don't think everybody has to share their numbers. There was some, I think, in the Advanced WordPress group on Facebook, there was some talk about, should we share our numbers, and some people were vocal about why they don't share numbers because they feel like it can promote ego or envy, and certainly those things are true. But that's kind of in. I can't speak for how people receive what I say. I can only speak for the reason that I put it out there. I don't know that I'll always share my numbers forever, but I like to share them, not just because they're great. Yeah, I think they're great, and there is a little bit of hey, we're doing it, but it's because I want to help other businesses. And the other tough thing too is another reason for sharing numbers in that way is there's a lot of other products in the business. There is the big form plugins, and a lot of times you can look at Ninja Forms and think of it, oh, it's the free plugin. And that's how a lot of people look at Ninja Forms. Oh, it's the free plugin, the free form builder. And so part of posting those numbers is to say, hey, we're here, and we're not as small as you think we are. Like, we're a lot bigger than you might realize. And so that's part of that as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say congrats to the team over there, WP Media, and behind WP Rocket. Yeah. It's a commercial caching plugin. And again, it's another example where they launched into a market that's covered by W3 Total Cache, WP Cache, any number of different types of very popular free caching plugins. But they jumped in. They have a commercial offering, and based on the reviews in the comments of the article. They're all 5-star reviews. Evidently, it's worth every single penny, and they're doing a great job. They jumped
Those
right
are
into the
great
established
numbers.
market with a commercial product, and they're killing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great numbers for a year and a half. That's very impressive.
So that wraps it up for this week's edition of the news. Marcus, why don't you go ahead and give your plugin picks of the week, and we'll wrap this baby up.
You got it. Well, we closed there with a story about a rocket, and I'm going to continue with that with a new plugin called Admin Rocket. Admin Rocket allows you to completely customize the back end of WordPress. So the whole admin area you can customize. If you want to take the menu and scoot it over to the right side instead of the left, you can do that. Custom logos, if you happen to be designing sites for clients, you can do that as well. Backgrounds, all of that kind of thing. Completely customize it to your liking, and the favorite feature that it has that I like the most is that it gives you the ability to import and export your settings so that you can set one, copy those settings, and then replicate that on other backends of other installations that you have.
And I think we should say that Admin Rocket has no affiliation to WP Rocket.
None.
Two totally different plugins.
None. They're just both riding on the Rocket name. That's all. Next one is called SEO Enforcer, and this is a companion plugin to Yoast, and it works with just the straight up version of Yoast. You don't need any other paid things like that. But what this does, it's a really small plugin that just kind of rides alongside, and it truncates things, like it corrects errors for you. So it truncates if your title tag is too long. If it's got the same as your meta description, it alerts you to that. And it does one feature which saved a million years, as far as I'm concerned, on one particular client site, which was it eliminates multiple H1 tags within the content. Now, I was working on this client site where it just happened to be a designer or somebody, I don't know who it was, did this content and just kept changing the style until they got to a font size that they liked. Oh, H1, that looks good. Yeah, let's just keep it there. And so they put like 6, 7 H1 tags in one post. What this does is with one click, it changes all of the H1s, the excess H1s within the content, right into H2. So you don't have to go and edit 500 pages in the case of my particular dilemma. You could just use a plugin like SEO Enforcer. And finally,
I wonder what the plugin header image is. It like a big police officer or something?
I didn't really pay attention to it. I think it's a no symbol. I don't know. We should come up with a logo service. What do you think, Jeff? We should just disable WP registration page is the final plugin for the show today. It's quite a simple plugin that just eliminates registration altogether. So if you've got the kind of site where it's only going to be you and you never anticipate that anybody else would ever register, you can totally disable this feature. It helps to kind of keep out the riffraff or people trying to register and get into your site, all that kind of stuff. It's really simple to install. It's one of these lazy plugins. There's no settings for it whatsoever. You just turn it on and away goes your registration page. And those are the picks of the week.
Excellent. So just a quick announcement. Well, actually, a couple announcements. First, I want to send a shout out to Richard Best, who runs the WordPress site WPandLegalStuff.com. Richard is a dual qualified lawyer, and he focuses on intellectual property, IT, and technology law, and he just happens to have an interest in WordPress. So although he doesn't give legal advice through his site, he's been publishing some fantastic articles from the GPL license to trademarks and to copyright as they involve WordPress and WordPress items. And right now it's my favorite site about WordPress. It's relatively new, but there's some great content on there. And usually lawyers speak and laws and stuff like that is very dry to read, but Richard has a way of coming across as, he's neutral. He doesn't have a foot in the game. He uses his legal background, and it's not dry. It's a great read. It doesn't put you to sleep, and he's able to link things from the past of WordPress and brings it to the forefront to make everything make sense. So if you're interested in some of legal stuff involving WordPress, definitely head over to his website, and I'll have it linked up in the show notes. Again, my favorite WordPress website right now. And as far as the other announcement goes, Marcus, I believe we're going to have a representative on from Zapier next week, right?
That's correct. Wade, one of the co-founders of Zapier, is going to be joining us next week. That's zapier.com. It's a cool little kind of like, I guess you could describe it as a code bridge builder. It does things like I use it for strapping from WooCommerce and making it a little simpler for a client to see the sales and the registrants to particular events. So I save it out to a Google spreadsheet. And that's the kind of functionality that you can do, but it goes to a million different things. So if you want to look at Zapier.com prior to next week's show, you could give us any questions or any feedback that you want us to give to Wade next week.
Excellent. Yeah, and Zapier is one of those services where, it's like, you could have a plugin, and if it hooks into Zapier, now you have access to like 200 different features. And James, before we go, does Ninja Forms have the ability to hook up with Zapier?
Yes,
is it Zapier or is it Zapier?
I always call it Zapier because I think of Zaps, so I call it Zapier. But yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we do have a Zapier add-on actually.
Yeah, so you add it on, and it's like you have access to 200 features. It's pretty incredible.
Amazing.
So before we get out of here, James, tell us where we can keep tabs on you and all the info like that.
Sure. You can contact me on Twitter at James Laws or WP Ninjas. And just as a kind of a small little plug, if I may, I've decided to team up with Jean Galea from WP Mayor, and we're actually going to be starting a podcast of our own, just talking about business in general. And you can sign up for when we get ready to start releasing some of these shows at mastermind.fm, and that's going to be the podcast. So we're really excited about that. But it'll be all business, and we're really excited about it. But those are all.
I'd love to be on that show with you guys. That would be fun.
Yes, absolutely. We'll make that happen.
Well, you're not allowed to do it on Wednesday nights at 9:30.
No, I'm not.
No worries.
Excellent. We could always use another podcast in the WordPress space, especially a business-related one. So that sounds neat. And for everybody else, you can catch show notes for this episode on wptavern.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jeffro. That's JEFFR0. And Marcus, how about yourself?
You can find me at my website, marcuscouch.com, and also on Twitter at marcuscouch.
All right, and until next Wednesday evening with Wade from Zapier, everybody have a great rest of the week. I'll talk to you next time.